I find that I'm constantly faced with, in trying to explain these things, I find myself on the two horns of a dilemma. I find that again and again, the question comes up, the question of censorship arises, and it comes at me from two different directions. Now, first, let me preface, there's the fact of the art of the thing, which you don't want to restrict with censorship. And there's, let's go on to something else. I can't handle this.
Just a point I wanted to bring up a couple of times that keeps occurring to me as we talk about this is, for instance, there was an issue of Mad, the comic book, in which I think it was Harvey and Will who did the story, had Santa Claus getting drunk in a panel, right? And who would think that there would be a problem with that? You certainly wouldn't want to censor Santa Claus getting drunk, for God's sake. You know, he's a mythical figure. And all kinds of hell was raised over this comic book when it came out, because Santa Claus is a saint. And they had a religious figure getting loaded, I think running around with blondes or something like that. But you can't sit around and say, well, you know, somebody's going to think that I'm saying something about this obscure saint who Thomas Nast has turned into the guy who brings toys down your chimney every Christmas, and therefore prevent myself from doing this entire piece. And I think that's one of the points Harvey was getting at. You can't just set up these parameters and say, no, we can't allow ourselves to develop our ideas because someone might get angry. On the other hand, if I'm correct, Will, I think what you're saying is you should occasionally stop and say, what is the result? Not is somebody going to get mad, but what am I telling people is okay to do? What is okay to think? Right?
Well, I think it's what I'm saying is that it's yourself you have to deal with. I agree with Harv and I agree with you. There should be no outside censorship. There should be nobody around who says, I am here to protect these people against your ideas, or protect you against that man's ideas, by saying you cannot do this, because he can't. It's just, I think what Harvey was trying to say is that it's impossible to do. It's impossible to set up a climate in which any ideas can germinate once you set up that kind of environment, or create a cultural environment.
To whatever extent that you stop a person from drawing, you inhibit art.
That's right. Or the
However,
exploration.
the other, I think it's coming to me now, the other horn of the dilemma is children, which brings in another set of problems. No matter how idealistic the First Amendment is, I constantly have the problem of my children, or not constantly, they've grown up and gone, but there was always the question of children. And I always had the shame or the battle with games. In the business of, Gaines was my publisher, the business of how do you handle your child's environment? How should you handle your child's environment? Is it just a matter of restricting access to my child, or is it a matter of closing down the publisher so my child isn't exposed?
But it's a question of creating or controlling a cultural environment, really. As you say, we have our children to consider, and that's why I think the censorship that we're talking about starts with us, we ourselves. And if you can feel comfortable with something, honestly, intellectually, then you should have the freedom to be able to say it, as long as you understand that what you are doing places on you a responsibility.
It's not in a vacuum.
That's right, that's right. If you're drawing graffiti in the men's room on 125th Street subway in New York, well, you've got a limited audience there in June for the word.
Not so limited, those graffitis are everywhere.
But if you're turning out 100,000 copies of a comic book that's going to be broadcast all around the country, all over the place, and your name's going to be on it, you have to be identified. You're part of a group that's establishing a cultural base. I mean, it's a long subject, and I don't think anybody's going to come to the end of it quickly or easily. But I think we all agree that censorship is not only bad, but it's impossible. More than
Censorship inhibits art. It's
Period.
as simple, to me, it's as simple as that. And it's the simple reason why censorship is bad. No artist can work the same way if he doesn't have his total freedom.
Well, there's a senator in the United States that might agree with you, the United States Senate, but I disagree with you on that. What's his name?
Yeah.
Sal.
We're getting, in fact, we've already gotten the word that it's about time to wrap this up. This is fascinating. I wish we could go on a lot longer.
One more
Let's
question.
take one more.
I'd just like to know if either of you gentlemen have ever applied for or received a grant from the NEA.
Not I have no
Well, I
intention
can't
of
think you have
applying.
more than deserving. You
Well,
guys should be getting that.
that's very kind of you, but I have no intention of applying, because I'm philosophically against the idea of the government. I have trouble with the idea of the National Endowment of the Arts,
Just rather
because it
not
places in the hands of the government the right to deny or to provide funds for art. Somebody there is going to have to make a judgment. On the other hand, I'm glad that they are providing art funds for a lot of guys that don't have the opportunity. So I don't think I'll be applying for a grant.
Or we think you'll apply for a grant?
The booze or the, I'm not, I'm not familiar with that grant.
Well, as a matter of fact, Art Spiegelman just got a grant.
Yeah.
Guggenheim, was it?
Right.
So apparently, Art is a guy who I'm sure, if he were here, would inveigh against censorship of any kind. So,
Okay, well, we're going to have to break it off. Obviously, if you're interested in looking at the works of Will and Harvey, it's a list as long as your arm. Many of these things are available at the kitchen sink table. Russ Cochran has released several volumes of the work that Harvey edited for EC. Eclipse has Will's comic and sequential art, probably available at their table, I would think, certainly available from Eclipse. Both of these men have books coming out in the near future. Will, I think your working title is Distant Thunder,
something like that.
The Kitchen Sink, another autobiographical piece from Will, which I'm looking forward to. Harvey has Harvey Kurtzman's Strange Adventures, which is coming out through, what, 3 different publishers working together, Harvey?
Yeah. It'll be out in August. And we're publishing through Marvel.
Marvel, and in conjunction with Kitchen Sink and Graffiti, right?
Kitchen Sink with graffiti at once.
I think Graffiti's
I'm
doing
the last one to know.
I think Graffiti's doing the leather-bound edition.
Right.
Is this a collection of work you've done? I didn't know about that.
It's new work.
New work?
New work, yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, I would pursue that.
Yeah, Harvey's working with some of the best artists around right now. He's got William Stout, he's got Dave
Robert
Gibbons,
Crumb.
Robert Crumb, you know.
David Gibbon, Harvey Kurtzman.
All the hot new guys. So we're looking forward to that. Will, do you know when your book is due at this point?
Dennis asked me the same question. No, as a matter of fact, this is, I'm a little embarrassed because I've been a deadline freak all my life, and I've always set up deadlines. This book I started work on this about a year and a half ago. It started out as being a 100-page book, And as I kept working on it, I kept expanding. It's now over 200 pages, about 207 pages. I got about 15 pages more to eat. I'm averaging about a page and a half a day when I'm not at a convention.
Well, let's stop
Should
taking
be
this
out this
time so
fall,
we get this book
hopefully.
out.
Hopefully this fall. It's a tough one to write.
Kitchen sink president.
Kitchen sink.
Well, thank you very much for joining. I wish we could go on.
We succeeded not giving you a chance to talk.
Great, that's the way I wanted it.
Why is it?